There's something inside you. It's hard to explain.
I actually don't believe this. There's no way. There's no way that girl pulled that off so good. Like she would have crashed. There's no way. That's not real. I don't believe
it. That's where you suspend your belief.
Yeah, that's where my disbelief it just gets cut off. There's no way she handled going up like that. No way. Man, you guys are ruthless. It's like if we're 30 seconds late, you guys jump down our throats, man.
Well, some of them were waiting since 1:41 p.m. This comment came in.
This can only mean Anthony will bring up the fact that Pete Hegseth wants to up the defense budget to $1 trillion, and we'll talk about how we are in the end times until Rob loses. It's basically going to be the show. I mean, it's
basically.
Actually, what happened is Rob sent me a freaking awesome thread about the Roman Empire the other day. And
it's funny because it's not about the Roman Empire, it's about America. But
it's about America, yeah. But the way the guy goes through it, he describes how empire, how the Roman Empire collapsed and what it was doing towards the end of its days, and just how it was overextended. But you really can't help but see the parallels of what we're doing. Yeah. And Rob doesn't like when I go the typological route, but I'm definitely going to. Yeah, there'll be quite a bit of eye rolling from Rob tonight, guys.
Everyone's wondering where Nick is. Nick is busy with finals.
So Nick's doing finals, but I think also we haven't said it to him yet. But Nick,
I love how this is how he's going to find.
Yeah, no. We'll wait till we talk to him first.
No, you can't stop now. Now we think we're going to be kicking him off.
Well, we'll leave you guys hanging. We'll leave you guys hanging. You guys we got to talk to Nick first, and then we'll talk to you guys. We'll see what he says. Nick was canceled by AB. No, Nick was not canceled.
Nick lives matter.
Okay, so we got a few things we could talk about tonight. If you guys want us to jump right into the main topic, we can. We also got dire wolves we could talk about. We have war with Iran, which will probably tie into the other conversation.
Yeah,
we'll save that for the other conversation. And then we're going to talk tariffs. We're going to talk, but all this is going to tie in together, I think. I think all this will tie in together. And then we got a crazy trad who shot a priest, apparently. So we don't know the details of it yet, but
that's not going to stop Anthony, folks.
Nope. No, well, I have some thoughts. I doubt Nick watches. You can tell us. Can we talk about something interesting tonight? All right. Well, first off, let's get to our Recusen ad, right?
Yes. You're going to make me read it again.
Yeah, you got to read it. I'm going to come up with my own copy.
I sent you the copy for a reason.
I honestly think we're better off just winging it and telling everybody. Just like put the website up and we just tell everybody, buy your wine at Recusen because they're the only people brave enough to support us. Like
that's true.
The things that we do on here, and they're the only people brave enough to support us. They are the best. They're the best wine in the world as far as I'm concerned. So,
any wine that is going to give Anthony money to talk. It's the best wine in the world.
It's more about the courage, man. Like you never know what we're gonna say on this show. You really don't. Some crazy things have come out of my mouth, and they still support us. So if you guys can go to recusensellers.com, use code BASED25. Code BASED BASED 25 at checkout for 10% off. Should have been BASED 10. We'll have to talk about that, but we don't want to confuse everybody.
Requisite Sellers, the wine Anthony was drinking when he was doing donuts in a parking lot with a stolen rental car at the age of 15.
I told my kids that story yesterday. But Sunday on the way.
How did they react?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know how it came up, but I told my wife and kids that story about me pulling into the parking lot. We were talking about how different it is now from when I was a kid and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, cops were a little different when I was younger. I pulled into the parking lot with 7 people in a 4-passenger vehicle and just ripped a donut. But I think it was because we were talking about the Long Island serial killer. That's what it was. So did you see?
Really?
We did an episode a few months back on the Long Island because I know a few people involved in the case, and now they just put the documentary up on Netflix, and we were discussing that and how the cops didn't investigate. I was like, yeah, cops are a little bit different back then. So I think you guys have your first watch party, Miley. Oh, that's awesome. Molly and I are watching together.
You guys drinking requisite cellars for your watch party? If not, you screwed up.
Yeah, that. Did you get the prize off to the trivia winners?
Well, first off, you were supposed to send one of them yourself.
Oh, you gotta send me the address.
I do have the address, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Margot and her fiance couldn't decide on which wine they wanted. So I decided to be the nice guy and tell them I'd send them both. Pretty sure that was planned on their part.
Well, okay. Send me the other address and
I'll send you the other address, yeah.
Also, did
dinner talk with your kids. Long Island serial killer and juvenile drunkenness.
It's a typical Sunday with the Abadis. All right, let's do the tweet first, and then we'll get into some other stuff. Because I watched Father Maudsley on Catholic Unscripted today. Like even just before we get into this, and Father Maudsley came out firing, and it was just Catherine. Mark and Gavin weren't able to make the show, so it was just her, and she put that up on YouTube, and I'm like, okay, so what I think we need to at least take hours out from behind the paywall.
Okay.
So if you guys are not paying members on Locals, we are going to remove the paywall if you guys want to watch the Father Maudsley interview. But he was on with Catherine from Catholic Unscripted, and it was a really good interview. And they're talking about some very difficult topics. And I don't know. I have this intuition that there's like the divide in the church is not going to be traditional Novus Ordo. I just think it's really going to surround this topic somehow. I don't know. Depending
on how the geopolitics go, yeah. Like,
I just feel like I think things are going to get so bad we're going to feel compelled to say something in certain situations.
So we don't want to put it on YouTube, not because of if it's on YouTube for members, their censoring algorithms are still going to catch it.
Still going to catch it.
We can't put it on YouTube no matter what.
There's things that are said in that interview that I gotta go back with a fine-tooth comb, but there's some things that I know YouTube will strike us down for. Like even if it's behind a paywall, they will. So
certain phrases will trigger things that yeah.
And they were a little more careful on the episode with Catherine.
Because it was mostly about the liturgy.
Yeah, they talked about different topics. They're two very different conversations. I think Catherine covered some stuff that I wish I would have, but because she did, it's like it is what it is. And I think Rob and I tried to focus on the scriptural basis of the enmity between the older brother and the younger brother and giving up the birthright and stuff like that. But it was a good conversation. It's just a difficult one. A couple of times I carried on too long in my question, and I was a little long-winded. Just forgive me for that, guys. It's like I was trying to dance around a tough topic, and I was a little nervous about it. And but it's still a very good interview. But all right. So let's get into the Roman Empire tweet.
I'm not gonna. I mean, it's a long thread, so I'm not gonna put it up on screen.
There's also bad language in it. So somebody, all right. So this guy wanted to
or parts of it.
Well, I'll probably wind up cutting you off. So I guess I'll go through it. So, all right. So this guy, he wanted to give like a synopsis of his thoughts. So he says, as many have argued over the years and far more cogently than I, the U.S. is an empire. It's been one for a while, but it went all in being one after World War II with the institutions it set up. Now the dynamics of empire may seem complicated. Michael Hudson provides a good definition by saying it's a transborder, culturally legitimized center-periphery structure of unequal exchange, economically, militarily, politically, and culturally. I know you're not going to make sense of that. He gets it down. He gets it down easier. But actually, the first thing he says is the White House official saying that the post-World War II order is over is huge. Right? Like the acknowledgement that they're even trying to reposition geopolitics and saying that the narrative from World War II or the post-war, what do you call that? The liberal order, post-war
yeah,
liberal order.
And really this tweet is really talking about what's called the Bretton Woods system. So it's like the post-war system of finance and trade and things like that that was set up with the IMF and things of that nature.
So, okay, so I know that was confusing, but I'll make it simpler by using John Michael Greer's definition. It's just a giant money pump. It really is just that. It has to be in order for it to function. What do I mean by that? Well, let's explore that via example, the Roman Empire. So this is where he gets into the Roman Empire. Basically, like all empires, the more the Roman Empire grew, the more stuff it had to pay. We're talking administrative costs, military costs, food costs, various subsidies to various populations, etc. And because it expanded so quickly, it couldn't afford this by itself. Thus, part of the purpose of empire is to extract value and wealth via a variety of means. In the old days, this meant tribute and such. But this also means that an empire starts getting bogged down in the affairs of its vassal nations.
I think one thing that this tweet doesn't talk about at this point, but it should, especially in relation to the US, is so Rome expands super quickly due to the Punic Wars against Carthage, right? Which were like a Mediterranean world war. I mean, it took place all over the Western Mediterranean. And Rome defeats Carthage, suddenly has this empire that's much larger than the Republic, the small Italian state that existed prior. And that small
now,
Italian...
is this under Julius Caesar, though?
No, this was 200 years before that.
Before Julius Caesar.
Yes. So
Caesar defeats the Gauls, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And that exacerbates the problem, but the problem starts with the Punic Wars, because Rome, which was an Italian state, now suddenly controls the Western Mediterranean. Shortly around this time period, it also conquers like Macedon in Greece as well. But anyway, so it's much larger, and it used to be the state of citizen soldiers. Like you were, if you had a farm, and you had to be an actual citizen with land to be in the army. Well, now suddenly it's this empire that suddenly has hundreds of thousands of slaves. And these citizen soldiers working the farms are suddenly finding that they're being replaced by these huge landowners that are working the land with thousands and thousands of slaves.
Which is very much like giant corporations today.
Yeah, you have America prior to the World Wars, which, is largely, being run by small, citizens with small farms and homesteads, small businesses and things like that. It goes through 2 world wars, and the industry just skyrockets because of these wars. We end up now having a global reach that we never had before. Everything's being replaced by big corporations, which start bringing, in the 60s, start to bring in cheap labor via immigration. I mean, it sounds a lot like
it's very similar. Yeah. So, but this also means the empire starts getting bogged down in the affairs of its vassal nations. For example, Judea. Rome takes Judea. Pros: you now have a new tax farm, more agricultural supply, and land closer to the Persians. Cons: you have to deal with the people of the Old Covenant. Not only that, but also Jewish politics and their one weird God, and they refuse to worship your gods. Sometimes this means they come to you about minor issues, like a preacher that's causing issues. Why the heck do you care? He seems harmless. You just want their tax money and for there not to be any trouble. But you are the local law, so you kind of have to take a stance. And sometimes this means that you get dragged into their conflicts because guess what? You own Judea now. You've invested in Judea. You have troops in Judea. You need to take care of Judea. As a consequence of this, Judean politics become a thing that matters back in the imperial capital. Anyone who's seen the episode of HBO's Rome featuring Herod knows exactly what I mean. This G rolls up to your office and makes you a deal. I want to take power in Judea. Help me and I'll make things easier for you and keep the Jews in line. Easy tax money. And then he throws in a sweetener. I'll pay you, not the empire, 20,000 tons of gold. So I want to pause there for a second.
That's basically APAC.
So the former Roman Empire dealing with a vassal state of Judea and getting caught up in the politics of it. And now this preacher comes forth. Now, I'm going to get into the modern affairs of Judea also, but not just that. Think about all of our vassal states. Think about all the stuff we just saw with USAID. Like all of that was about the affairs and all of the American outposts that were pumping money in, dumping money in to control the internal affairs, overthrow governments, throw a regime out over here, all of it because we're trying to have this very thing happen, this 20,000 tons of gold that comes back for the elites to fight over. Okay, so this is a critical point to get about empire. The province's periphery have an incentive to play politics in the imperial capital to extract as much as they can from the imperial system. This changes everything. Those who kept on watching HBO's Rome know what this means in practice. Suddenly, that 20,000 tons of gold becomes something the empire's elites fight over because it's 20,000 pounds of gold. I want my cut. So now we're in this weird dynamic. The empire is supposed to be drawing resources and taxes from the provinces to keep on functioning, but provincial elites are now bribing via various means the imperial elite to direct more imperial resources to the province. So this is what we're dealing with APAC.
Well, I mean, APAC and Europe and all of this, like you have, I mean, for the entirety of my life, Democrats and Republicans, even prior to the real, like, huge political divide that's happened in the last few decades, have always been squabbling in it over the tribute from the provinces, more or less, right?
So you have all these lobbyists coming into DC, and this is why every one of our congressmen are millionaires, because they're accepting money from these lobbyists to go and fight for the little cause of the stupid vassal state that America got their fingers in, and they're trying to meddle in our affairs. Now, I found it to be, I guess we'll go through the whole thing before I give you my overall synopsis of it. But okay, so apply this across a variety of fields and areas of the empire. For example, grain. Rome is a hungry beast. She needs grain. Egypt has the best grain, the best. We need to import Egyptian grain, so we have a stake on which one of these two sits on that dumb throne. So that's
he shows the third and
Cleopatra. Or even luxury goods from the East, spices, silks, and so forth, especially because the women just love the latest trends. This means Indo-Med trade, like Indonesia, Mediterranean, I guess that is?
No, Indian.
Oh, Indian, Mediterranean?
Yep.
Okay. Med trade is huge and essential to the empire, even as we lose money to the ancient India. This makes Egypt even more important. I could go on, but what matters is the provinces operating under their own incentives extract resources from the empire via capital politics. So the imperial politics become more contentious, while imperial citizens, not elites, are being slowly looted and need to be bribed. When you hear of bread and circuses, this is part of it. We're totally screwing you, the Roman citizens, over. But hey, cheap bread, free gladiator shows, hell yeah. This dynamic goes on until the math stops making sense and the empire collapses because everyone is trying to loot the treasury. The empire can't afford its military anymore. War bands invade, and imperial citizens hate their leaders so much they stop caring.
Now, I don't know if this. I think he's also well, maybe he talks about it later, but I think it's also missing a point where Rome, once again, going back to that large immigration after the Punic Wars, not immigration. The slaves after the Punic Wars, as you mentioned, Caesar, right, a few hundred years later, invades Gaul, once again, because he's one of the elites and he wants all the tribute and plunder, so on and so forth. He also he's in huge debts to Crassus. He needs to pay Crassus back. And at the same time, he wants to use that plunder to pay off the Roman citizens to get their support, right? So he's a real populist in that sense. But anyways, he conquers Gaul, probably kills 1 to 2 million of the Gauls, and the rest now are all Roman slaves, citizens, so on and so forth. So in the course of 250 years, you have what went from a small Italian state with, Italian citizens, Italian and the italic sense, not in modern
in
Italy.
the geographical sense.
In the geographical sense,
yeah.
you have Latin citizens. Now suddenly they're a minority compared to the Gauls, the Carthaginians, the Greeks, all the Egyptians. All of these other peoples now make up the majority of the empire, and they have to start expanding what is Roman citizenship to these new populations. And what it meant to be Roman got watered down each and every time, little by little, to the point where, well, by the time you get to Augustus, he's trying to renew what it means to be a Roman.
Yeah.
And every time there's a crisis in the empire, you have an emperor that rises to try to renew what it means to be Roman, because they've lost what it means to be a Roman.
Now this also goes into why the Roman Catholic Church is so good in those early centuries, because it adopts this Roman understanding of incorporation, right? Like it's like it allows when it takes over the Greeks, it allows the Greeks to stay Greek, even though they're Roman citizens now, right? So you kind of have like the Greek philosophical mind combined with the Roman organization system comes together to form the Roman Catholic Church. I mean, it's really like the Roman Catholic Church is the Roman Empire. It's like you had Caesar in Rome, and you had all the provinces with their governors as basically bishops throughout all the provinces, and that's the model for the Catholic Church, basically.
Yeah, the Roman Church does something interesting where it allows some sense of Romanitas to survive, right? In terms of its laws, its ways of thinking, but yet it integrates this Romanitas into the new nations that spring forth, like the Franks under Clovis, the Angles, the Saxons, all these new Germanic nations that come forth, the Lombards in Italy, things. The church allows these nations to assume some level of Romanness, of Romanitas, but yet still be their own nation.
Which is why Irish Catholicism looks different than English Catholicism looks different than French Catholicism.
But the point I'm really getting at is the Roman nation was lost, and it was lost forever. Even like the Eastern Roman Empire, which definitely held the most Romanness of it all, right? They were Greek. It was a Greek nation with kind of a Roman veneer. The Roman nation, the Roman people were gone, and can never come back. Even if they try to do the direwolf thing with them, they're gone forever. That's kind of just what I wanted to get at here.
Yeah, it's still so. Okay, so well, the U.S. empires function very much the same way. We extract a ton of resources from everyone else. Everyone else has a stake in imperial politics, including Judea. Everyone wants a cut of the action. This includes trade. Like the Roman Empire, we resort to extraction, or in our case, buying cheap stuff. Like all this stuff with the tariffs that's going on. What it seems like to me is we've realized we've exhausted our finances out on all these outposts and vassals, right? We were dumping.
Can you imagine what Rome would have done if they could have gone 30 trillion denarii into debt? That didn't exist back then.
Yeah, there was no central bank to just keep printing money, right?
Right.
But the thing is, when you think about the things our government spends money on, like even Elon going in with Doge, right? He's like, oh, look at all the waste, fraud, and abuse I'm finding. And it's like 30 million to LGBT studies in Syria and Iraq, and it's like, and they literally get this literature and they throw it in a freaking dumpster. They don't even look at it. They just come to get the money. It's all payoffs. This is all bribes. That's all this is.
Money laundering. Yeah,
it's money laundering for us to pay off certain things, and we got to put a veneer on it. So we send them some booklets and stuff. They don't implement any of these programs. It's all about paying people off to keep the dictator in that we want in, or the fake president that we want in. We overthrow their governments.
This should not be discounted, by the way.
No,
it shouldn't. Were Romulus and Remus.
Yeah, no, it's actually, I think there's something very significant about it. And you see this extraction has been going on, especially since World War II, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, even the fact that they're saying this World War II post-war world, this post-liberal world order is coming to an end, and our renegotiating our stance towards Europe, our renegotiating our stance with Russia, China, all of it. You and I have talked about how World War II was a myth-bearing story. Like,
Yep.
if they're going to end that era, like, I don't see how they do that without giving a new myth.
Yeah.
I don't see how they do that without giving us a new myth.
Well,
right.
Since we're on the subject of Rome, and I think this is really just a human thing, the human need for stories, right? To create stories for your justifications and to figure out where you came from, things like that. But like, so, Rome used the story of the Punic Wars for a long time until eventually you had the rise of like the Gracchi brothers, and then Sulla and Marius and things like that. And eventually Rome needed a new story, a new myth. And then you have Caesar, you have Julius Caesar come, and he's a member of the Julii and supposedly descended from both Venus and Aeneas, through Romulus and things like that. And he goes and he conquers Gaul almost single-handedly and comes back with all this money for the people. And suddenly you have this new story that his nephew Octavian can use to actually move from the Republic into the Empire. So I think it's very common throughout history.
Yeah. I love learning Roman history with you. You're very good at this. But even look, so somebody said, just remembered Rob told us all to give up podcasts today.
Did you listen to my morning meditation?
No, I didn't listen yet. Yeah. Sometimes I listen before I go to bed. Sometimes, I do listen. So, but somebody said maybe we can do away with some of the other World War II myths as well. Mm-hmm. Now, I know you're making a joke there, but if you understand the apocalypse, this is what I was talking about with Rob, and I don't know if he agrees with me on this, but when you get into the apocalypse, it talks about the beast that was no longer and then returns. Now that beast is Babylon. It goes into with the naming of this channel, right? But Rome is the new Babylon. Like, ancient Rome is the new Babylon at the time. So now if we're comparing ancient Rome to modern America as a new empire, to me, I can't not see the new America, the American Empire, as the return of Babylon.
Well, what's interesting,
and Judea and that outpost as the whore of Babylon.
They've been the whore of each of the three Babylons.
Of each of the three Babylons, right?
Yes.
So, like, to me, I can't escape the significance of this. And just the look, what I've seen in the freaking White House this week alone with Netanyahu there, and even like, man, I can't believe I ever watched Tim Pool. Like, that guy just goes for a meeting with Netanyahu, comes out, and Tim Pool, Mr. We got to get out of the Ukraine war. Americans shouldn't be going away. He's a libertarian. No, America should not be fighting foreign wars. Comes back today after meeting with Netanyahu and makes a pitch for why war with Iran is necessary.
Yeah.
All of these influencers have been primed. All of them have been primed to have access to the empire, the empirical, the glamour of being in the empire.
This is their chance to become part of that elite that gets the gold, the tribute, right?
This is it. Like, this is what you're seeing here, right? So all these influencers who you thought were these independent podcasters, and they were doing their own thing, and they were getting to the truth, man. And then they get invited into Imperial Rome.
Yeah, you have libs of TikTok out with Christy Nome. And
what's funny is the whole Tenet crew. It was Dave Rubin, Tim Pool, all those guys. Now all of a sudden are the ones getting invited to the White House. It's almost like the DOJ or somebody went to them. Well, like, look, we can either press charges on you, or you could be our new pitch guy for what we need to do next. I'm not saying that's what happened, but it looks an awful lot like that's what happened. And like the significance of this thread, especially to me, is that, okay, we're moving beyond the story of World War II and the myth-bearing load that story has. Even allowing guys like Daryl Cooper to be, start talking about how this story is a myth-bearing load, like it's a myth-bearing story. It is the foundation of society, of our modern society. Listen, this, if you get into listening to the Father Maudsley conversation with Catherine today, it is about the liturgy, and it's about how that narrative is used against the church, and the church is told the reason this event happened is because of your liturgies. It's because of your Good Friday liturgy and St. John's Passion. You need to change it. And they pressured them. And then the Second Vatican Council comes, and you get Nostra Aetate, and you get Dignitatis Humanae, and you get all these changes, and it's from these outside pressure groups, from this myth narrative thing. It's what happens to the church. Like this is the importance of this story. It's not like all of what I'm seeing is not about a dislike of a people. It's not about a hatred of none of it. It's all theological to me. Like all of this is theological to me. I'm looking at this from a theological perspective, and I'm saying, wow, what is happening here? Like this is wild. They're putting pressure on the church, and the church acquiesces to this. And it seems like what's happening right now is not traditional versus Novus Ordo. It doesn't seem like traditional versus Novus Ordo. Like what I'm seeing seems like Catholic Zionism versus those who are seeing it's, look, this is important. Like this is a very difficult topic to discuss, because there's one group of people that are seeing something happening in the culture. When you see the Groypers and the Fuenteses and all that stuff, there is a danger in what those guys are doing. Like in the past, things like that have aroused pogroms. You start talking about these things and it riles people up, and then the next thing you know, there's a pogrom and people get hurt.
Yeah.
So I understand them going, oh man, look at the signs are here. The warnings are all here. We need to do something about this and stop it in its tracks.
It's why the church, when it has in the past promulgated documents on this group of people, it's been on one hand been to condemn their actions and ideas, but on the other hand has always been to also protect them. I mean, the papal states were a
sanctuary. A
sanctuary
city where they were allowed to exist. They couldn't have any positions of power. They couldn't influence the culture. You were not allowed to have usury, things like that. But they were protected. They were safe.
Yeah.
Sometimes that involved them paying a tribute to the Pope. There might have been some corruption involved there.
No, I mean, you gotta pay for that protection, right?
I'm just saying, like that. But that is the point, right? So I do understand where the guys like Trent are coming from in one aspect. They're seeing a lot of the noticing going on, and they're like, whoa, we got to be careful here. We don't want to see the things that have happened in the past happen again. But on the other hand, are you actually unaware of the dangers of the thing that's actually it's like, do we call out our own and protect and make sure our own don't get out of control? Or by doing that, are we turning a blind eye to the actual thing that's going to happen? That's my worry right now. And I don't look, it's just an intuition I have. I don't know. I just kind of see this thing happening, and it's all people I always liked. And it's all people I grew up learning the Catholic faith from. And I'm seeing this split happening, and it's like this one group over here, and they all seem to be saying the same thing. And then I'm starting to see like what the reason I think what Catherine did was so incredibly courageous. Like I really think what she did was so incredibly courageous, because they are pretty mainstream Catholic Unscripted. Like, I mean, you have Gavin on that show. He was a former chaplain to the Queen. You had they're writing for the Catholic Herald.
Yeah.
For her to come out and have that conversation, like there's going to be consequences for that. And she said to consequences be damned. This is a conscience issue. This is not about rousing up hatred for anybody. It's a matter of theology and recognizing where we are in the story. Now, look, it does have to do with Novus Ordo versus TLM, because the Novus Ordo is very much influenced by this thing we're talking about.
It's the church's capitulation.
It is the church's capitulation to the older brother. Like, this is the story of Cain and Abel, guys. The older brother offers a sacrifice, God rejects it, and it goes to, and the younger brother is praised. That is the Jews, the old covenant. The new covenant goes to the Gentiles.
And what does the Novus Ordo do? Take an offertory prayer from that rejected sacrifice and insert it into.
But even in the bigger context of the story, what does Cain do to the younger brother when that sacrifice is accepted? Like, you have to understand this enmity is biblical.
Yep.
And the thing that frustrates me is that we entered Passion Tide. And Catholic Answers is writing a defense of the older brother, and it's like I don't
Passion
know
Tide, where we veil our statues and crucifixes in remembrance of Jesus having to hide himself from the Jews.
It's like I'm very confused about this, because it's a really important topic. This is not light stuff that we're talking about. It's and what I'm seeing happening with this push to go to war with Iran right now on behalf of them, it's like this is serious stuff we're talking about. We're not, going to war with Iran is not going into Iraq or Afghanistan. It's not the same thing, not even close. First off, now you're talking about who's Iran's allies, and you're talking about the BRICS nations, right? You're talking about Russia and China. I don't know how involved.
I do think war with Iran is a lot like war with Iraq, actually. I mean, in terms of
capabilities.
Yeah, 100%.
You think so?
Yeah. In relation to our capabilities, yeah. If anything, I think the gulf between their capabilities and ours is probably greater now than between Iraq and ours in 2003.
Maybe. I just think it comes with a whole lot of complications, and Trump fired up these tariffs with China, and China's already pissed off.
Well, okay, I know, but here's the thing. Iraq went poorly for us.
Well, yeah, but it was also stretched out over 20 years. But I think Iran is I don't know. Look, I'm not going to pretend I know geopolitics. I just don't think it will be as because Iraq was far away, Afghanistan was far away. Yeah, our troops were there, but we didn't have to see. I don't think that'll be
farther away.
I know, but I don't think it will be like that. Is my point.
It might not be.
I think it will be a much different conflict, and I think it will escalate. I just think it will, just because of the times we're in. Like I just think it's going to escalate. I don't think it's going to be just this. Oh well, it's just like Iran is it's like the. For Israel, it is the one they want. They've been, listen to me, every freaking 5 years for the past 25 years, I've been hearing Iran is 5 years away from making a nuclear weapon. Iran is 5 years, and every 5 years they pull out that trope. Iran is 5 years away from making a nuclear weapon. It's like
the whole Iraq WMD thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were convinced that they had WMDs and we had to destroy them, because they might put a chemical or biological weapon on a Scud missile and fire it at Tel Aviv.
Yes, or they might get it into America after the terrorist attack. It's look, this is all the same game, is all I'm saying. And I think the stakes are way higher, especially so now this also gets into the the one thing I kind of like Trump is doing is the tariff thing, because this kind of gets into I'm talking to my son who's 19, and it's like, how the hell is this kid buying a house?
Well, we should finish the thread.
Yeah, let's finish this, and then we'll get into that, because we got to talk about the boomers, and we have to talk about the boomers and it wasn't like your parents that did it. It was the politicians in power that did it, but the way they spent money and the way they did, I mean it is a mentality that we're definitely going to talk about.
It is a lot of our parents too.
Oh, it is.
Now, are they really culpable for it? No, because they really were just living what they were told was the American dream.
Dream, yeah.
But
yeah, so we'll get into that too. But yeah, let's finish this out. So this includes trade. Like the Roman Empire, we resort to extraction, in our case, buying cheap stuff. It helps balance the books, keeps the population happy. Citizens are quite happy with affordable Walmart goods that we outsource making abroad. The problem is that this
Provincial.
Yeah, but no, he messed the sentence up. The problem is that provincial extraction, he wrote is that too many times.
Yeah.
The problem is that this provincial extraction game, but by another name. Oh, the problem is that this is a provincial extraction game, but by another name. Sure, the imperial elites, the US political and financial tech class, got rich, but imperial citizens, normal Americans, gradually got poorer, and the gap is now painfully bad. This is what we're going to get into. An added twist to this is that the US is nominally a republic. Republicanism only really works if economic wealth is relatively distributed. Why? Because economic elites have an incentive to use their money to capture institutions and thus make themselves richer. Think about how this applies to trade. When Walmart sells you cheap goods, you think you're getting a good deal. You're not. This is a trade. Your money makes them richer, which they use to lobby DC to keep up this dynamic. And then they use that money and regulatory capture to crush competition, kill fair trade laws, take over retail, and gain more political control. In other words,
give you a worse job. It doesn't mention that, but you're getting a worse job out of the deal too.
Well, think about what America produces. YouTubers. Like, what do we produce? Content creation, entertainment. Like, that's what we produce. Entertainment. Like, we don't produce anything here.
Homosexuality.
Yeah, like we produce entertainment, debauchery. So look, like even when you're talking about the Judean province, right? And everybody's like, oh, well, they control the banking and they control porn and all these things. Like, I don't care about any of that. Like, don't get into debt and you won't be a slave to usury. Don't look at filth on the internet and you won't be a slave to your lust. What worries me is the influence in the church and foreign policy. Like, those two things do affect you, whether you allow them to or not. Like, my liturgy is affected by this thing. I mean, I never really like thought about the idea of like our liturgy. They convinced us to participate in the mockery of Jesus Christ. Like, it's the way Maudsley describes it,
like with the kneeling and
not just the kneeling, it's also like the crucify him. Like, you have to think about what they do on the original Good Friday. Like, the Sanhedrin convinces the Roman soldiers to put purple on our Lord and a crown of thorns and mock him. Oh, the King of the Jews, the Jew King, the Worm King. Like, think about those scenes from the Passion. Like, the Sanhedrin convinces the Roman soldiers to mock our Lord. They go around and they bribe all the people of Israel to go and yell, crucify him. We have no king but Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
And they freaking got into our liturgy and got us to do it. Now, it's very different when the deacon does it in the sanctuary and it's a liturgical matter, and it's very different than us all yelling crucify him, and participating in the mocking of our Lord on Good Friday. Like, it's just a different thing. And you know that the Sanhedrin did bribe the populace, and it was mimetic desire that got all those people to do that. Because when you go and see St. Peter preach in Acts, he says to the Jews, he says, you crucified the Son of God, and you will pay for it. And they're like, what can we do? He says, repent and be baptized. Like, and they have a conversion. It's like we've managed to allow the older brother to affect our liturgy and stuff. And it's an important thing, man. Like, I'm not, this isn't about seeing a Jew under every rock. That's not what this is. It's an important theological issue that we keep getting back to. But when it comes to this extraction and the cheap goods, it's like America has given up everything that we used to produce to these other countries. So Trump is going around saying, no, we're going to do everything we can to incentivize bringing production back to America. We need the economy to come back down to normal. Like, it's all inflated nonsense. It's fake ethereal numbers. It doesn't mean anything. It's all nonsense. Like, my house, since I bought it, has doubled in price in 10 years. Like, get out of here. My house is not worth that. And because my house is worth that, because people use real estate as an investment, instead of seeing real estate as, oh, this is where I live, this is my home. Right. It's now an investment that you know, when you retire, your house doubled in value and you could sell it and you go move somewhere out in the Midwest. But how is my son ever going to buy a home when the median home price on Long Island is $800,000? Like, how is a 25-year-old kid going to buy a home for $800,000? It's absurd. It's never going to happen. I just don't know what the next generation is going to do if Trump doesn't enact these policies and kind of bring the economy. Like, it's hopefully what it'll do is cause deflation, because if everything crashes, like what we're talking about is like the stock market. It's like, oh, you're investing.
Well, I think it's going to be a lot more than just that. I mean,
well, it is, especially because there's going to be so many pensions that crap the bed, and it's going to be one of those too big to fail type of things.
Yeah, no, I think you're missing the big picture, though. Like,
well, a lot of small businesses that are buying stuff from places to make it, their tariffs are going up so much. Like, I did see one story, some guy's like, he's buying stuff for, like to assemble something, and he had $26,000 in his cart worth of goods, and with the tariffs coming in, it jumped up to $300,000, and now his business is going to go out. But what do you think I'm missing?
Well, just what the thread gets to here, like we're going to have to cut out our consumption by like 30 to 40%, and we are going to have to be okay with China winning for the next 100 years. Basically, as we purposefully collapse this empire to try to save the nation.
That's the only way it would work. But are we willing to go through that 100-year period to do what our ancestors did and build a cathedral that doesn't get completed for 400, 500 years? Hey, let's start this project now that you, your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, your great-great-great-great-great-grandkids will not see complete.
Right.
Are we willing to do that? I don't think so.
No, and the end of the thread argues, like, will this work? Almost definitely not. But it's the only chance we have to save what is America.
So the U.S. is on the same trajectory as other empires. We're
go the one before it. You didn't read the second half.
And then they use that money, regulatory capture, to crush competition, kill fair trade laws, take over retail, and gain more political control. In other words, you are paying for cheap goods with your political sovereignty. You trade democracy for cheap food and goods. So the U.S. is on the same trajectory as other empires. We're being systematically looted in a variety of ways: trade, remittances, D.C. lobbying for policies that benefit periphery states. Since we're the heart of the empire, we can't just shut it down, because it would be suicide. The empire would collapse. All sorts of chaos would be unleashed. China and others would make moves and so on. We see this in the experts saying we need to do X to compete with China. They're not lying per se, but do normal people want more money to be poured into AI to compete with China? Importing more Indians to work for less, letting the overall math make sense for a bit longer so the green line goes up? Again, they're not lying, but they're downplaying the costs. At last, we arrive at the heart of the matter, which is the ideological revolution driven by the national conservative movement. These various strands of nationalist, economic, populist thought and various disaffected elites, which simply is the empire worth it? Their answer is an unequivocal no. This stupid damn system is not worth it. Cheap goods are not worth our republic. Losing our demographic, religious, cultural homogeneity, being screwed over by uncaring elites, etc. They want the humiliation and looting to stop, because it will kill the empire, but maybe, just maybe, allow the nation to survive and recover. I want to be explicit about what this line of thinking means. It means playing the long game. It means sacrificing today for tomorrow. Taken to an extreme, it means letting China win for the next century. Also, the U.S. can wipe the slate clean as much as it can. This encompasses everything from getting migrants to self-deport by changing the economic incentives, to applying antitrust law to break up certain big corporations, maybe restore fair trade laws, re-empower the middle class, and restore a measure of Republican government. The problem, this amounts to trying to relearn how to fly while falling from a cliff. Is this really, if this really hits, it's going to impoverish the United States. We have no idea for sure how bad it will get, but it will be bad. And it'll be scaring psychological. It'll be a scarring psychological shock for a nation that self-conceives as things always getting materially better. That's an important thing. Like we perceive progress as just things getting materially better. Our technology gets better. Our homes get better. We have nice stuff. It's like we live as slaves, but we have TV and Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seriously, we live as, like, you know how many freaking hours of my week is spent being a slave to a company to make somebody else rich so I could have a TV on the wall and I have 2 cars in the driveway and I get a weekend to go and hang out with my family, and then once a year I get to go on a vacation? Like, that's slavery with, like, brief respites of, like...
And meanwhile, we have all this stuff, yet we're like the most depressed society in history because we've lost who we are.
We're spiritually impoverished in a way that's never happened in the history of the world.
I mean, other than maybe like the late Roman Empire, you know, where
the decadence was so freaking crazy that they were men dressing as women, and it was like literally what we're seeing today.
Yeah, you see such a cultural decline, right, from the high, because of the same stuff we're seeing now.
What are they saying? But Anthony enjoys his Goy TV, Goy car, Goy make. I do. I mean, what do you want?
Don't forget the Goy boat.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's just what the older generations did, and even their mentality, right? It's like, I mean, if we think about it, like, listen, I have parents and in-laws, and they live the lavish retirement lifestyle. They do. Like, they live these lavish lifestyles while their kids are scrapping to get by. And it's like, I mean, my dad is on a
while they're trying to convince their daughters that they have to go, you know, work.
Go to work.
Yeah. It
really is insane what they've done. Like, and I'm looking at it like, I don't care if my house plummets to 10% of what it's worth right now. I want my son to have a future. I want my grandkids out. Like, what world are we leaving behind? I mean, it's going to be shocking. Yeah, it's going to be giving up a lot of material comfort, but it's going to be stuff we don't need anyway. Like, it's all of these tariffs, if you think about it, they're on things that are, I mean, if it goes to food, that's one thing. There will be food tariffs, I guess. But for the most part, it's like, oh, you can't get the next iPhone 17 when it's the same damn iPhone you've had for 4 years anyway. Like, the same freaking crap.
Or you might not be able to go to, you know, Walmart and buy a cheap, you know, $20 pair of Wranglers, but you can instead, you know, go to a place that sells jeans made here in the US for $100, and I bet you they last 5 times longer than those Wranglers or whatever.
Well, and also you won't need 6 pairs of jeans anymore. You'll have 1 pair of jeans.
Yeah.
You'll have 1 pair of jeans. You don't need that many. So the quad father, you see 50% of boomers have no retirement savings. Youth are finished. So like the boomer ideology is like, you work until you're 55 or 60, then you retire, and then you live off of what you accumulated, and
you leave
nothing
your kids
behind.
Nothing.
Leave nothing behind. But what'll happen now is, if you really do see the stock market crash and all this stuff happens, your boomer parents who are living on that stuff, like, their retirement's gone. Like, my dad's whole annuity is tied up in this stuff. Like, he's probably, I haven't talked to him, but he's probably sick to his stomach right now. He's probably like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
I mean, but what's that going to do? It's going to force multi-generational households, like,
he's going to have to sell his house and come live with his kids.
Right. Which, that's the way we're supposed to live, right?
It's like, there's going to be a reorganization of the way the world works, man. The thing is, if that was what Trump was doing, I'm fine with it. Like, I really am. I'm down to do the 100-year plan. I agree. My fear is they need a new myth. And with a new myth comes a big war. Like that is my fear.
I mean,
because you need a new myth.
It depends on the war, right? Like
World War I wasn't a myth-bearing war.
Mm,
but it's connected to World War II, so it is.
well,
like there really are the
World
same
War
war.
I happens kind of because of the century of European history and myth before it, right? But yeah, what happens after? I mean, World War II happens because of what happened. You know what is done.
The
to
Treaty of
German
Versailles
people.
and what happens to Germany, and like those two wars are super connected.
It's really the same war.
It's the
really
same
is.
war. It's just like it has like a delay for 30 years or so, and then it gets right back going again. It's like,
but what I mean is like, yeah, I don't want to fight a war for, you know, APAC over in the Middle East.
I'm not letting my son do that,
No.
dude. Like, these are my two principal concerns. Is my son going to be able to afford a home? And is he going to get sucked into getting drafted to some freaking pointless war for a bunch of men who are just evil?
But I mean, we do have to be prepared that in dissolutions of empires, there's war
wars,
and violence and unrest. And if
there's a power vacuum, first off, right? If we start pulling out of this stuff, you got a power vacuum and other people step in and there's going to be conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, if we need to fight a war for survival, that's one thing. But yeah, I don't want anyone being sent over to the Middle East to fight APAC's war.
Dude, that's what every single foreign policy thing is, though.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And to not see the typological significance of that, I'm sorry, guys. Like I am worried that you have Catholics defending the wrong brother. This is the issue with bringing certain guys on certain shows and shutting other guys out of the conversation and gatekeeping that, right? This is kind of what I'm talking about. It's like, if you're only allowing some guys to come into the conversation, you're now getting a group that is going to be look, influencers are a thing, right? And there's a ton of people, I'm talking a lot of people, who get their theology from Catholic Answers.
Yep.
Like they do, and they trust those guys, right? And I'm not knocking those guys. I'm saying, but they possibly are picking the wrong thing here, is all I'm saying. Like, this isn't dogma, what they're talking about. Like they're seeing two things happening right now. They're like, we all see the APAC problem and all this stuff happening in the Middle East, and you see, you know, all of the control that certain group of people has over different areas in society. And then you see the people that are criticizing that, and the people that are criticizing that tend to be these young Gen Z types who are anonymous online and saying some bombastic stuff that's riling people up and getting them really upset. So as an outsider, you look in and you're like, okay, I know what's happened in the past, and especially during World War II when all this stuff was, you know, like that's the reason Maudsley is talking about what he's talking about. That's why he's saying, like, fundamentally, if the whole story is actually wrong, then what you're talking about is the people that we, like, the influencers that we're talking about, everybody kind of trusts them. Those guys are seeing a problem and they're going, whoa, we need to calm this down so this thing doesn't happen again. But if that thing didn't actually happen the way they say it happened, it's like a false, you know what I mean? It's like, but there has been violence on this issue many times throughout history. Mm-hmm. Many times. There's never been.
The Zionist movement began due to the pogroms against the Jews that happened in what is now Ukraine. Yeah. Right. And those pogroms were real. Now, were the Jews blameless in them? No.
No, but violence is never the answer to it, right?
No, I mean, not unjust violence. You know, self-defense obviously is justified and things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, as we talked about Father Maudsley, there's just centuries and centuries of enmity here. Yeah. You know,
Yeah, it's thousands of years. It's millennia of enmity. And no, and Grover, I'm not even like knocking those guys. I'm telling you, there's an issue here, and they're seeing it, and they're going, okay, this is the side we need to get control, because they're like, all right, we need to talk about this amongst our own and make sure our own look. And somebody said, get a life, get all, you're online, getting riled up online, right? Riled up online, get a life, get married, have some kids. Part of the problem here is the feminism that came in from this other group and this ideology that's made it so like these young men can't get wives anymore. On top of that, technology has changed, and there's a whole bunch of different reasons why young men are not getting married anymore. Now you get a bunch of young, disaffected men who find a person to blame for all of their problems, especially after a decade of them being told they're the reason for all the problems in the world. What did Molly say?
The first time we've ever stayed on topic the whole show.
Yeah, but I just think that so when I called Rob yesterday, and just because like Tuesdays and Thursdays are always like, oh, what are we going to talk about? But I called Rob yesterday. I said, dude, I think I want to talk about the Roman Empire America thread. And I want to talk about boomers, and I want to talk about, and there's something I want to talk about on locals that I can't talk about here. That goes into the pressures that men face. Like there's something happened when my nephew stayed over my house. And
should we move over to locals?
We're going to. I'm trying to give people like an idea. Something happened with my nephew, and I can't talk about it on YouTube, but I'll explain it to you. But it goes into all of this. Like it does kind of have to do with this. And it has a lot to do with the pressures that are on men and that we don't speak about, and why suicide rates amongst men are so high. And there's a lot that goes, that this is all kind of connected. It's just one long stream of consciousness I kind of had. And me and Rob talked about it a little bit yesterday, and he was like, yeah, that's, if we could call each other on the phone and it's like, seems like it's fine. I'm like, all right, we're good here. We got something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just this thing that is coming up between these two groups. Like, I'm a little afraid of what I'm seeing, because I'm afraid good Catholics that have good intentions, that I know love their faith, might get pulled onto the wrong side of the argument on this. And they're not looking at where the real danger lies, because it's easy to see the obnoxious people online, right? Like there's people saying some horrible things online, and it's easy to go, that's clearly evil. That can't be the right side. But no, there's something devious and sinister happening that doesn't have its claws out like that. That's like, it's more subtle, but it's the real place where the danger lies. And I feel like we're supposed to be, if there's anything involved in influence culture, like we should be talking to people about the real danger, and not to get kind of pulled into like Father Mosley was even talking about even the amount of pressure this group put on the church's liturgy. You wonder why the trans issue exists in the world. And it's because the trans issue first existed in the church. I mean, feminism hits the church first. And when you have women in the sanctuary and you have girl altar boys, of course the world is trans. If the church can't make these fundamental distinctions between man and woman, how do you expect the world to make them? We just had Cardinal Fernandez come out and talk about the exceptions to when gender reassignment surgery is okay.
Yeah.
And he used the same line they always use, which every parent that has a kid that's even in this thing dealing with it goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, would you rather have a dead son or would you rather have a dead daughter or a living son? And it's like, well, in extreme cases of gender dysphoria where suicide is an option, then it's acceptable. And it's like, are we the church?
We're
anybody
willing to let someone kill their soul so that they don't end their life?
The church isn't going to put themselves down on the line to speak the truth. Who is going to? Isn't going to be left up to influencers? Like, is that really where we're at? We're going to leave it to the Protestants, who have a totally disordered understanding of natural law, who don't understand any of it, who talk vile things about Our Lady. Like, this whole don't criticize people because criticism isn't nice and you'll be judged for it. And it's like, dude, I love you, man, but stop. Like, stop, man. Some things need to be talked about. Like, I genuinely love the guy, but like, come on, what are you doing, man? Like, these are important. These are heavy, important topics that need to be talked about, and we can't be like, oh, I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Like, sometimes feelings got to get hurt when it's a serious thing. It's not gossip. You're not trashing somebody. It's like, I don't want people that I care about to fall on the wrong side of this.
Yeah.
Like, I care about these people and I don't want them to fall on the wrong side of it. And I have many good Catholic friends who love those guys and they're getting their theology from those guys. And it's like, man, Tim Flanders just had a guy on who was straight up saying Catholic Zionism is a good thing, saying that the people of Israel coming into the land of Israel is God's way of fulfilling the earthly promise. Not that they have dual covenant theology and they can't be saved through the old covenant, but it's a way of God fulfilling his promise in the natural order and gathering his people back to Israel. And it's like, dude, you are talking about the eschaton. Like, you are talking about the eschaton. Like, this isn't, I don't understand what, and this guy helped write the Ignatius Study Bible.
Yeah.
And then Tim Gray at the Augustine Institute is hosting a course on the Gospel of Mark, and it's 83% Protestant sources. Out of 18 books, 3 of them are Catholic. 15 of them are Protestant.
That's crazy.
Dude, that's what I mean. Like, and it's like, I freaking love Tim Flanders, but dude. And it's because I know, oh man, we got to do this on the other side. I'm not going to do this over here. I'm not going to do this over here because the names start getting said and stuff. I'm just saying, this is a serious topic. It's not gossip. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's reputation. I'm just like, guys, this is serious stuff, man. This is just, I don't want to, that's true too, right? They bring their Protestant stuff over and this guy that went on with Tim.
That is actually true. Yeah.
This guy that went on with Tim is like, I was an evangelical, a dispensationalist. I spent time with Messianic Jews. I was a Zionist, and then I became Catholic. And it's like, dude, you're still Protestant.
Yeah, I just can't imagine converting to, the 2,000-year-old church created by Christ and thinking, I need to change the church to match everything I used to believe instead of me changing what I believe to match the church. It's just like somehow me and my Protestant.
We should not monetize the eschaton. I don't know what monetize is.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. What were you just going to say, Rob?
What was I saying?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you. You were like literally mid-sentence. Like, there you go.
Imagine thinking like your dispensationalist Protestant friends know better than St. John Chrysostom. Like, come on.
Well, dude, the other note I threw in the notes for us was how going viral is actually the worst thing that can happen to a content creator. Because what happens is you get too big and you assume that thing is going to keep on growing, and then you start trying to please a wider audience, and you stop talking about things that matter, right? So like tonight's show, I mean, we rarely have this few viewers. Rob is going to say we're all going to hell for not giving up.
You know why we have the few viewers? It's because there's not a face of someone in the thumbnail that we're criticizing, and it's not talking about anti-Protestant apologetics. Like, when the channel doubled in 3 months.
That's what we were doing
because of all those clips about the Christian Avengers, George Janko, stuff like that, and like there was a real temptation to continue doing that sort of stuff because it got the views.
Yeah. Dude, so this is kind of I think people that like us would prefer this.
I mean, yeah, I think there's,
like, I think you guys would prefer this, right? Like me and Rob just talking, like, and having like a real conversation. I don't like, cool, let's show a clip of this person's, like, I don't know, that stuff. It's cool to help growth and it's cool to get some views and stuff, but like, I'd rather do this. Like I'd rather the people that actually
as
find,
long
like,
as we mix in good interviews every once in a while, because sometimes those
100%. But
interviews
no,
are really
I
good.
just mean being us, right? And
Yeah.
not trying to go viral. Like when you like those shows that go viral, what happens is their audience expands super quick. They make a ton of money in a short period of time. So then they build a studio because they think they're going to keep growing, and then people lose interest.
It's like the empire. The
It
whole
is
empire thing.
exactly
Their
what it
expenses
is.
start to grow, so they have to keep, and eventually it all collapses.
Dude, you know who's like a really like the reason that I thought of it is because of Big Justice and AJ, the Costco guys. You know, here comes the
Okay, yeah,
boom.
the Costco guys, yeah.
So they did that thing. They went viral. They blew up. They got huge, and that was their one trick. And they got nothing now. And nobody's watching them anymore. So they're trying to come out with a new song for the summer. And
they are very Anthony coded.
It's just, my point is,
thank you, Adrian.
They get these huge expectations. They think they're going to be social media stars. And it's like, I'm telling you, something happened to me when I went away with my wife, where I was like, I don't want to be a social media star. Like, I would rather cultivate this small audience and talk like this than try and keep trying to go viral. Like, I don't look, if there's something interesting, we're going to put it on there, but that's not the intent. I'd rather do this.
I mean, we will still find something to mock Protestants every once in a while. Don't get us wrong.
But all right, so we're going to go over to the other side.
Question. I think I have a way to switch the YouTube stream to members only in the middle.
You can do that because
we want to try that.
Yeah, it's not such a dangerous topic. It's just a personal thing that I don't want for
everyone
for everyone to say. Like, if you're a paying member, we know you like us and you care about us. Like, I'll tell you that story, but I'm not going to just blurt this out for the ether.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's not. This is going to take a little finagling. So no.
All right, give Rob a second. Let him try to figure that out.
Close here. Let's just see if.
No, we're just going to cut. Like, so public YouTube. We will see you guys on Thursday. I invited Connor back on. I haven't seen Connor in a long time.
For those of you who don't know, we were talking about Connor McHugh from Plotlines, from the Plotlines channel. He used to be on trivia all the time with us.
Connor has a condition where his arms and legs are affected. He's in a wheelchair, but he's a really good kid. And I miss him. And I just shot him a text and I asked him if he'd come and hang with us for Thursday. So Thursday we'll have Connor, and I told Nick to come too. And maybe we'll tell you guys what our plan is with Nick on Thursday. This means you won't be able to keep the stream video on demand. Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah. Never mind then.
So what we'll do is we'll cut the segment and we'll put it as a member segment, though.
Yeah. Well,
you won't be able to watch it live now, but we'll give you guys that segment as a members segment. So if you're a locals member, you'll watch it live right now. If you don't have locals and you are a YouTube member, we will give you this next segment as a YouTube member.
Thursday will be members only for both YouTube and locals.
Yeah, and then we'll try to grab a clip or two that we could put up publicly after. But Thursday shows, I think we're just going to stay as members and locals. Yeah. I kind of like that. It's like no pressure on us and stuff. So, but
yes, Nick is coming back to the show.
Nick will be on Thursday. Feels like a grift now. Are you sick?
What?
The opposite of a grift. You guys got to be kidding me. All right, that's what we're doing. All right, can you do? Take us over to locals. We'll see you guys on Thursday.
Okay, let me just remove all this here.